Recently, I just finished a challenge where I survived for 300 days in a one-chunk world. That's 16 by 16 blocks. In that world, there was no stronghold, so there was no way to beat the game. I was also playing on normal survival mode, so dying wasn't a big deal, and I ended up dying a total of 274 times throughout that challenge. But in this video, I'm changing both of those things. This new world has a stronghold beneath it, and I'm also on hardcore mode. So, is it possible to beat Minecraft in a one-chunk world? Well, I guess we're about to find out. Here we are. I spawned in and immediately saw a sheep in the border. This is going to be extremely useful for how I plan to beat the dragon. I punched a few trees, got myself some tools, then realized this is my first time ever playing hardcore. I then went down to get some more stone and make a furnace, then smelt up some logs to make charcoal. It's going to be nighttime soon, and I want to light up the world before any mobs have the chance to spawn. I then dug down to get started on collecting some resources, and I came across this. How are there so many mobs in one cave? There's creepers exploding, there's skeletons fighting each other, it's chaos down there. But I saw water. I blocked off that cave, then continued mining, and I found some coal and iron pretty quickly after, which was quite nice. Now it was back to the surface to smelt up all the iron I collected, and the first iron tool I made was a pair of shears so I could shear my sheep. A bit strange, but it'll make sense later. I then went back to the mine so I could try to get some water. The mobs were all piled up on top of the water though, so I hope I can get it without having to fight all of them. I mined a strip just above the cave, then mined a little hole every now and then to see where I was. But just as I was closing in on the water, a witch yeeted poison at me. Poison for 20 seconds? Really? This is bad. I don't have any food, and I can't regen any health. So it looks like I'm stuck on half a heart for the time being. I was extremely careful to not take any damage, because just one arrow from a skeleton could end it all. I managed to get over to where the water was, and grabbed it from above, all without having to step foot in that scary cave. My plan was to use the seeds I got earlier to plant some wheat with the water I just got, and hopefully make some bread so I can regen some health. I carefully made it back to the surface and planted my seeds. I sheared my sheep once more, then went to bed. While I was waiting for my food to grow, I had a realization. What if I went fishing? I had killed a spider earlier when mining in the caves, so I had 2 string, enough to make a fishing rod. I forgot that I had gotten water that I could have used to fish, so I tried to fish with the pond that was just outside the border. But, as you'd expect, I couldn't throw the rod outside the border. But I remembered that you can use a boat to get outside the border. I was scared though, since I was still on half a heart. I should be fine though, since you don't take any damage unless you're 5 blocks away from the border. So I tested my luck and I was outside. I thought none of this would work and I was just doing a dumb test, but it actually worked and I caught a fish from outside the border. Insane. I could use this fish to finally get myself off half a heart.
Nice.
Up until now, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to pull this challenge off, but having a stable food source was great for my confidence. With my renewed confidence, I wanted to test if I could get some sheep from outside the border. Cause that's what you do in your average speedrun, you do experiments on sheep when you get bored. I put it into a boat and wow, that was really easy. I realized, wait, there's a sheep outside the border, let's see if I can bring it in. Using my fishing rod, I ran out towards one, took a bit of damage, but I was able to reel it in closer to the border. But my rod broke right before I could reel it all the way in. So I made another boat to see if I could capture it, and I successfully rescued a sheep from outside the border. Maybe once I get more armor, I could go out and rescue more. Okay, it's back to business and I'm in the mines yet again. I want to find the stronghold which has lava in it so I can make another portal. This world is tiny, so finding it shouldn't be too hard. And here it is. There's only 9 lava in this portal area, with the rest being outside the border, and I need 10 to make another portal, so I was really hoping there would be more elsewhere. The one benefit of having the rest of that lava outside the border was also having the silverfish spawner outside too. This meant that it wouldn't activate when I got close to it. A nice feature since silverfish suck. While I was down here, I also mined as much iron as I could. That way I could make some armor and a shield to protect myself when I went to the nether. When continuing my strip mines to find some more iron, I found diamonds and more lava. It looks like the diamonds are half outside the border, which kinda sucks, but hopefully there's enough to make a pickaxe. I explored this cave a bit more and 2 diamond veins this close to each other? Oh my gosh. I mined them up, 8 diamonds in total, then went back to the surface. This whole time I kept thinking, oh, I better go put these diamonds in my chest before I die and lose them. But I'm in hardcore. If I die, I lose everything. So it felt really weird having valuables in my inventory all the time. I'm back on the surface and I'm making a diamond pickaxe. I almost crafted a diamond helmet, but decided to craft a diamond sword and axe instead. I think that's a better usage of my diamonds. I used some bones that I got from skeletons to bone meal some wheat, then tried to rescue another sheep from outside the border while the rest of my iron was smelting. It looks like the sheep AI doesn't work outside the border, and I was getting close to dying while trying to get this one, so I gave up and decided that it wasn't worth it. While these tests were going on, my iron was done smelting, and I had enough to make a full set of iron armor. I went back into the mines and was immediately poisoned. Again.
Bruh.
Okay, now it's time to go to the nether. I went to the portal room and started making my nether portal using lava buckets and water. Here we are on the nether, and since mobs don't spawn within 24 blocks of the player, I had some time to set up the nether before mobs started spawning. I cleared out the area surrounding the fortress and made it all flat. This would make it a lot easier to fight blazes after they spawned. I then started a staircase to go above the area where blazes would spawn. It had to be at least 24 blocks above me so mobs could start spawning below. I had to be really careful since my last attempt where I tried this, yeah, that happened. Blazes started spawning below me, which was great, but a bunch of skeletons started spawning too. Why does the nether hate me? I wanted to go back to the overworld to make some shields and to get some more food, but when I came through the portal, what do you know, a blaze was waiting for me on the other side. Luckily it was just one and I didn't come too close to dying. Since my fishing rod had broken from trying to rescue that sheep earlier, I had to go into the mines to find myself a spider to get some more string. This was pretty dangerous, but before I knew it, I was fishing again outside the border. I used the entire durability of this fishing rod since I wanted to get as much food as I possibly could. While I was letting my food cook, I organized my items and started to get everything ready for the end fight. But I still had to go back to the nether since at this time I only had one blaze rod. After about 45 minutes of fighting in the nether, I finally had everything I needed. This portal is a 3-eye, so I only needed about 9 eyes of ender, which made things a little bit easier. I thought it would be fitting to release my sheep back into the wild outside the borders since it had served me so well these past few days. Don't ask what happened to the other sheep. I may or may not have accidentally killed it. When I brought it outside the border and broke the boat it was in, it came right back into the border. Does that mean it loves me? I guess we'll never find out, but it's time to go to the end. The whole reason I was excited about having a sheep in my world was because of this. You see all these beds? I'm going to use them to kill the dragon faster. In the end, when you try to sleep in a bed, it blows up. So beds essentially act as instant TNT in the end, which is extremely useful and speedrunners use it all the time to kill the dragon faster. Once I made it to the end, I spawned outside the border. I did some tests in this world and saw that if you made the world border smaller than where you spawned in the end, you still spawn outside of it. And the farther away you are, the more damage you take. So with a 16 block border, you essentially die immediately as soon as you spawn in. So I had to disable damage when you're outside the border in the end, because otherwise it would be impossible to make it to the center before you died. With that aside, I ran into the center, which was inside the border. A side effect of the border being smaller than the obsidian towers is that no crystals generate outside the border, so we don't have to worry about breaking them. I waited around for the dragon to perch and turned on hitboxes so I could better see where to blow up the beds. But as you can tell, it's been quite a while since I've done a proper speedrun and I messed up the beds pretty badly. That's okay though, since we can just wait for the dragon to perch again. Since I usually kill the dragon with beds, I thought that I was done and I would have to restart. So I just sat there spamming right click thinking, wow, I really messed this up, huh? But I came to my senses and realized that I could hit the dragon with my sword instead. I turned off my hitboxes for this one so the YouTube commenters can't say that I was hacking by using hitboxes. You can just press F ring and B on Java, by the way. And I messed up the beds again, but that's fine since I have my trusty diamond sword to deal the last bit of damage. I grabbed the torch from the fountain, then used it to collect the dragon egg. And that's how I beat Minecraft in a one-chunk world. Thanks for watching. Bye!